This is air-gapped 3D experience integration using PROSTEP OpenPDM. My name is Brian Schouten, and we'll be running through how to use OpenPDM to solve air-gapped 3D experience integration. PROSTEP has been specializing in data exchange and interoperability for over 30 years. 30 years ago, that was called the product lifecycle management, bringing the data to the different domains to make sure that you could have that continuity. Today, we call it something like digital thread and digital twin. But that includes how to export, transport, and then load data either between OEMs or in air-gapped environments. Important to PROSTEP is our technology partnerships and being that vendor neutral integration provider, interoperability provider between the various different vendors. So we have technology partnerships that then enable us to build our connectors and test them and use the APIs to the systems in conjunction with the vendor. So that we can then integrate that with other vendors as well. We have these technology partnerships and other service partnerships in place in order to provide that functionality, but not reselling any specific software, trying to do what's best for the customer and building integration and interoperability. General challenge for all of our customers is moving data between different environments and different domains. So that could be like on the picture here between requirements and systems engineering, software, mechanical, hardware, manufacturing, things like that. Could be between external partners and suppliers. So that could be exporting data from one of these systems, packaging it, and then importing it to a supplier or vice versa. Or between different environments because they're an air-gapped type of situation. So the same type of technology that you would use in an external partner supplier type of integration can be utilized where you're taking data from a system, you're exporting it. It needs to be semantically strong so that you have all the information you need in order to determine the logic for doing the import on the import side and then import it. With this, with our technology, we've been supporting these types of solutions for over 30 years. PROSTEP offers what we call our three pillars. On the left-hand side, consulting, including strategic consulting, processes and method consulting, AI transformation, engineering, IT consulting. On the right-hand side, specialized development. That's a large-scale, enterprise-grade software architecture and implementation consulting. So if there's special needs for large customers and they have large projects for that, we can help with that. And in the middle, software products. And most of these are focused around integration, data exchange, and traceability with the digital thread platform and our brands OpenPDM, OpenDXM, and OpenCLM. And today, we're going to focus on OpenPDM and replicating data across an air-gap environment utilizing that tool. PROSTEP Digital Thread Platform architecture looks a little bit like this. At the bottom, you see kind of the foundation. Those are different systems, and not like clients, but the repositories of that data. We want to source the data from the authoritative source of truth, and typically that's then a PLM system, an ALM system, a requirement system, ERP or MES or something of that nature, where then you have status information that's released, that's already then vetted, that you can then utilize in order to exchange the data, either with integration, where on the upper left-hand side we see the integrate, replicating data between these sources, tracing and using like a linked data integration approach in order to either provide traceability between different environments or between our product OpenCLM and those environments. Collaborate in data exchange, so exporting data, packaging it up in a digital data package, sending that over, and then importing it into the other side. And you'll see something like that today, but we have a variety of products supporting that, including OpenPDM and OpenDXM. And migration, which is a ETL or a transactional kind of coexistence tool that you can use in order to deprecate old systems and do primarily we support cross-vendor migration. So moving from a different vendor PLM to a new PLM, and we enable that bulk data transfer and all the testing and rehearsals and processes around that. What powers this integration are PROSTEP connectors. So on the outside, so the external layer, these connectors use the certified APIs of the systems. So typically they also use user accounts, right, that go through the business and authentication layer. So respecting access controls, things like that. Not direct to database, not kind of circumventing what that proprietary system interface is. So we're using that interface, and then it is then transformed into a very standard PROSTEP integration interface. So we have that generic connector REST interface on top, and that has a canonical data model and a standardized interface that it's using in the middle in order to power digital thread platform components. So that could be like a BPMN workflow for doing data replication between the different sources. But it could also be things like I want to do translation of CAD data, or I want to do mapping from one source to another, or I want to do traceability in linking data. All that then becomes very simplified because you have a standard interface for each of these connectors with a standard data model in the middle. And you can easily map, you can easily link, you can easily translate data between sources and targets, and support many different integrations. So it doesn't mean that it's a point-to-point. This is more of a hub and spoke type of integration interface that you can then deploy, and use that common connector architecture to support these. So let's get into how we're going to use OpenPDM to demonstrate our air-gap PLM collaboration for 3DEXPERIENCE. So within 3DEXPERIENCE, you might have data that you want to then transfer over this air-gap process. And 3DEXPERIENCE is a little bit unique in that it has really determined data models that it wants to use in order to export and move between these environments. So there's data models like 3D FLXML, there's the RFLP models, as well as metadata that you can get through the standard interfaces like XPDM, the Java MQL style MCS interface, and others, in order to then transfer over. So what we're going to do as part of this is we're going to start in 3DEXPERIENCE. We've got our 3DX connectors. That's primarily the XPDM interface. That's also going to be able to export the business objects, relationships, attributes, things that you would need in order to do validation, or support data types that aren't supported through the standard 3D XML or other XML type interfaces. And then we're also going to use 3D XML as part of this demo to move the physical product data and the geometry between the two systems. So the CATIA data in effect, and to be able to export that. We're going to create a digital data package in the middle. And what that really is a zip file that then contains an index. That's a standard format of an index. That then within the index, you say, I've got these different other files, right? Including 3D XML files, including other XPDM JSON files or other things that you can then use in order to transfer over and then give to the import application so it knows what data that it has. And so using the digital data package standard, be able to construct that in the middle. We're going to just simulate the air gap file transfer process. This is going to be copying from one folder to another. And we've got kind of this watch folder implementation where once that zip file gets copied into the other side, it'll kick off the process. And then on the import side, what it'll do is it'll read what that index is. It will read what the XPDM file is, so it can do a basic comparison of what's already within 3DEXPERIENCE. It'll then take the other 3D XML files and other files that might be part of that digital data package, and then import those within the 3DEXPERIENCE. So there's a very flexible thing as well, so that you have these BPMN workflow components to it for both the export and the import. So you can do a lot of comparison of data on import. You can understand what already exists, come up with an import strategy of when to maybe revise or reuse or create a new BOM or update, depending on what the changes are. And then, determine what that logic is and what to use when, in effect, as part of this. So let's demonstrate this in action. We've got two 3DEXPERIENCE environments, this one on InkWin 36 and another on SolWin 51. In our InkWin 36 environment, we have a Mars Rover. Now, this is a JPL open source Mars Rover demo data. It's got about 250 parts and maybe about 2,200 unique instances. And that's on InkWin 36. And we have another environment on SolWin 51. And when we search for it, we don't have any Mars Rover data. So we'll show you that being populated later after we do this data exchange. The way we're going to do it is we're going to take data that will be exported into one folder, and we're going to copy it to the other folder. And there's going to be a watched folder process looking for that data, and it'll kick off a process to import it. So that's to simulate that air-gapped environment, the moving of the data between those different folders. So we've got a widget we've deployed to 3DEXPERIENCE, and this is just to show the demo. But we like to automate these processes whenever possible. So you would not actually need to do this manually, but really have it as part of a workflow or maybe a status that's reached within the data. So that there really doesn't need to be a human in the loop unless it's necessary for the process to execute. You see here then that the process is running. We go to the OpenPDM process cockpit and show that running on the server side, and it's really kind of running all behind the scenes. You see that that's been completed here. It doesn't take too long in order to do the export through those processes. Now that it's been exported, you can see that there's a zip file that's been created of the digital data package. And what we're going to do is grab that zip and then move it over, simulate the air-gapped data transfer. And now that it's been dropped into the input, it'll get picked up by that watched folder process, and it'll start a new import process to the SolWin 51 3DEXPERIENCE environment. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to log into it, do a comparison of data that might exist already, and then import the data from the 3D XML into that environment. And we're going to wait a minute for it to index as well, but once that happens, then we can go ahead and open that rover up. You see before it didn't show anything when we queried, and now that was just created. You can see it in action, and it will generate the 3D as well as show the rover physical product structure. And the same data that was available within the source system is now available within the target. So this is a 3D design data example, but this also works with other data types depending on what your needs are. So with the digital thread platform, we're all about bringing data across the product lifecycle and across different environments. And that's leveraging data as the authoritative source of truth. That could be between different vendor systems, doing that in an automated way in order to provide better data and provide your digital twin and digital thread in an effective way between the different environments that you might have or across the product lifecycle within a single environment. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it was informative. If you want to get a hold of us, the best way to do that is through email. Send the notice to infocenter@prostep.com with what your request is. And they're very good at routing you to the right person that can help you out and answer your questions or try and get more information or whatever you're looking for. So yeah, if you're interested, send an email to infocenter@prostep.com and we'll get you in touch with the right people. Thanks.